Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another broadcast. Today I wanted to talk about Dead No More, the Clone Conspiracy number 5, or more specifically, how Dan Slott climbed up the creative high dive and did a giant belly flop into the pool. In many ways, I don't even have the energy to fully do a review like this justice. I need help on this one, and for that I'm going to turn to Whatever a Spider Can's Mike McNulty, whose history of reviewing anything Spider-Man related is sterling. He says, and I'll link to his website in the review below, whenever there's a big crossover event in comics, there are at least 3 ways it could end badly. There's the flaccid ending, in which after months of foreshadowing and teases, of building suspense, of escalating the conflict, of raising the stakes, of promising an epic saga the likes which you've never seen, it comes to an abrupt stop, and whatever excitement is there simply deflates. Then there's the cop-out ending, which, like the flaccid ending, also makes all sorts of promises to the audience, only in this case, it cannot muster the courage to deliver on those promises. And then there's the non-ending, where there is no real resolution, and any lingering, unanswered questions are addressed with a, "Don't worry, this other comic explains everything," turning the finale into a glorified commercial for another series of upcoming events. Spider-Man, the Clone Conspiracy number 5, somehow pulls off the stupendous feat of being a flaccid ending, a cop-out ending, and non-ending all at once. Yes, thank you, Mike McNulty. The funny thing is that before Dead No More, I joked that we would need After Dead No More and Dead No More, No More to complete the tale, and now it looks like we have to read Clone Conspiracy Omega number 1 to figure out what the heck we're actually dealing with in The Amazing Spider-Man at this point. But I digress. I'm already running long here, so let me break this down as succinctly as possible. Here we go. Jekyll's clones are disintegrating due to Doc Ock going off the deep end in the previous issue. Peter gets Clone Gwen to lead him to the control room where a death frequency is being broadcast throughout the building. Clone Captain Stacy tells her that Peter Parker was right all along before the two part, which is weird because the hero suddenly changes his mind moments later when he looks her in the eyes and says, "There's only one Gwen Stacy, and I'd know her anywhere." The two are being followed by a trio of goblins when Gwen decides to buy Peter time by shutting herself outside a door that leads to the Jackal's lab.
Listen, there are more important things than you and me. Every person on this whole stupid planet is counting on you, Peter Parker. Promise me. Do your job. Make me proud.
Gwen says as she turns towards the goblins and miraculously catches a pumpkin bomb. She says that she's going out fighting to save the world. Peter confronts Jackal, but Anna Marconi tells him to let Doc Ock deal with that because they need to figure out how to get the inverse frequency broadcast around the world, since the aforementioned death frequency was being emitted by Fact Channel. Peter decides to hack into his webware emergency system and broadcast the inverse frequency to everyone with Parker Industries tech, even those who have it off. The plan works, but not before Otto smashes Jackal's webware and melodramatically says, "Melt with me." Sorry. Anyway, in the end, a ton of people are saved, a couple are seemingly a pile of ashes. It turns out that many of the original characters, e.g. Hobie Brown, were kept in hibernation and did not die, and the proto-clone is missing. There's more to it than that, but for brevity's sake, I'll cut it off here, and again ask you to check out Mike McNulty's work over at Whatever a Spider Can. I could probably talk about this for the next hour, so I'll boil it down to one question. Was it worth it? Was this months-long event that turned The Amazing Spider-Man into supplementary reading material that required a Before Dead No More and now a Clone Conspiracy Omega that took up time in other books that asked readers to buy Prowler for $4.99 that I think is now being canceled? Was it worth it? If you're a Peter Parker fan, think about the last few years under Dan Slott. You had the character killed off and replaced with a superior Spider-Man for well over a year. You had him resurrected only for him to get lost in a sea of spider people with Spider-Verse. After that, fans had to deal with the creation of Peter Parker, Stark, Zuckerberg, Jobs, Musk, and the Zodiac storyline, which was a total snoozer, and now Clone Conspiracy, which has just been one big convoluted mess of clones upon clones upon clones that kind of sort of ended, but not really, because check out this thing called Omega. It will pave the way for Dead No Mas, por favor. In short, this whole thing was a creative mess that was only saved by artists like Jim Chung. Honestly, he's sort of like Clone Conspiracy's life preserver, which prevented it from sinking to the deepest, darkest depths of the Marvel Universe ocean, where the carcasses of its worst stories are left to slowly decompose in an oxygen-deprived environment over the course of decades. Note to Dan Slott: buy Jim Chung a beer. In fact, buy him a giant steak dinner, because the man is an artistic lifesaver. That's about it for now, but as always, I'd like to hear what you have to say in the comments section below. Sound off on all things Clone Conspiracy or Spider-Man in the comments section below. And as always, if you've liked what you've seen here, then head on over to douglasernst.blog for more coverage just like this. See you next time.